It's recording now. Welcome, everybody, to I'm Going to Ask Dad. Today's episode is going to be on
War or something. I don't know. I know. Yeah.
an episode
War.
on war. Those of you that have followed us, thank you. I tell you, we did not expect nearly 1,000 followers on the Facebook page in our first week. And the listening on YouTube and Spotify has been really cool. Please continue. And if you find a message worth sharing, share with folks you know. Hopefully you'll see a little more, content, I guess would be the way to put it, between Facebook and TikTok here this week. We're going to try and focus on doing something a little bit heavier with putting our message out there. So if you like the message of healing through communication, like it, share it. All right. What's the first question you got about war, man?
Why do you think Hamas invaded Israel in the first place?
Why do I think Hamas invaded Israel? Yeah. I've listened to a lot of back and forth because this war that goes on over there has been ongoing for 2,000 plus years.
Please elaborate.
I could be wrong. But again, anything I talk about is my layman's understanding as I know it. But if I recall the teachings of the Old Testament correctly, the Jewish people were the people that followed Moses out of Egypt.
We were kind of dipping into religion.
You asked about Israel and Hamas. Israel is the current home of the Jewish people. That's why this is important in how I'm framing this, okay? But that conflict has been ongoing for that long between Middle Eastern cultures and the Jewish people. I don't know the history of it. Right now, after World War II and the Holocaust, I think it was 1957. I'm not sure exactly on the year. The land of Israel was given to the Jewish people. And I'm sure before that, it was in the hands of Middle Eastern people, the Palestinians, and there's been a lot of back and forth in this. So there's been a number of wars ever since the state of Israel was given to them. Like I don't know the whole slew of them. I know there was like a 6-day war, a 30-some day war. It's been back and forth, but it comes down to existing in a world of hatred. If you knew I died because somebody decided to launch a bomb at the building I was working in, would you grow up being able to completely forgive them? Or would you grow up when all of the people around you are saying, let's get revenge for those things?
I'd probably end up joining the military the moment I hear about a campaign against them.
They killed your dad, right? So it's generationally bound at this point that they killed my father, my mother, my sister, whatever it might be, that the young men get together and say, we're going to do that back to them. So it's become this thing. And then there's the ideologies of the faiths that also embattle one another. And they both believe that it's the homeland of their faiths in Jerusalem. So there's a lot embroiled in that as to why that attack happened. Sowing fear is a tool to. There's so many things you can see in this, right? if you can get, this is the one I hear in some things where it makes me kind of scratch my head and wonder, like, could that be the truth, right? Hamas knew that Israel would attack them the way they have, and that it would cause a global rebuke of Israel's actions. The prime minister of Israel has now got a warrant, I think it is, from the the ICC. I don't remember what the acronym is, but basically a court over war crimes in the world.
So they essentially make sure the Geneva Convention is upheld.
I believe so, yes. But they're now like, you've committed war crimes, is what it kind of sounds like. They want him to answer for those. But that comes from the thought that this is a genocide, that he's trying to cleanse these people from the area around him. If you watch some of the videos, like, it's horrifying. I've seen videos of children younger than your sister buried in rubble because a bomb knocked down an apartment building or a hospital. And you can say so much as to, we gave them ample warning to get out of there. But when you have nowhere to go, or you don't have the means to go anywhere, what are you going to do? And then you can't stop that bomb. You can't stop that attack. So the most powerful statement I've heard, honestly, came from Donald Trump. Somebody asked him this, I don't know if it was this war or the Ukraine war. Somebody asked his thoughts, and his answer was, I want the killing to stop.
I certainly agree with that.
That takes a lot. Because if you have two wildly different viewpoints that are nearly impossible to come to an agreement in, then how do you stop it? When you're so angry that your family has been killed, your entire family has been killed by this other nation, how do you sit down at that table? And I think that's, kind of a premise of what you and I are talking. Like, I don't know what it's like to live in that. I don't know what that kind of anger and fear is like. I've got my own things that I work through, and I've learned to communicate through. And it's not easy. I've had a hard time trusting people my entire life because of some actions of my father when I was very little. I lost trust in the man that was supposed to protect me because I was harmed by him. So getting through these things, and I don't mean to equate this to anything people have gone through in the Middle East, right? I'm not trying to say that, because that is in no comparison to watching your family get blown up, right? I can't imagine what that's like. But at some point, we have to put ourselves in one another's positions and recognize the harm that has been done to one another, and say, this is never going to stop for my children or my grandchildren if I can't stop it. These generational legacies of violence don't get stopped until we make the active decision to stop them and to grow within ourselves and learn to evolve away from them. All over the place on that, hey? What else?
So the war in Ukraine was over them joining NATO.
Is that a question?
Following up into a question here.
Okay.
Why do you think? Why are other countries helping them so much, even knowing that most likely Russia is going to it's a major escalation with, like, the missiles that they're giving, like the missiles that the U.S. is that Britain is giving.
Why are we giving those kinds of things to them?
Yeah.
I I don't live in a space where I believe it's with good intention. I don't think that we're doing that because we want Ukraine to win. I don't want to see people die, period. Right? And again, it doesn't stop until you sit down and learn to communicate with one another. President Putin has asked very clearly to not have Western armaments at his border. He's been consistent on that for years, yet over and over again, those arms got closer and closer to him. You know, where we are at this point, for a U.S.-made bomb to land in his country, you know, they had to develop ICBMs in order to hit the U.S. This is the only way. He can't. Back in the Cold War, they had them in Cuba, right? They had missiles in Cuba that they could have launched at the U.S. They had to get close in order to launch them. But now we've got those missiles. This is the Cuban Missile Crisis in reverse, right? It's right now. It's Putin looking out his back door, going, "Those are really close." And it's been that for more and more time. Originally, there was an agreement, before Putin had anything to do with Russia, there was an agreement that NATO would not expand to the east.
And guess what they did?
4 years later, I think it was 5 more countries joined. And then I think like 10 years later, 7 more countries joined. So the promises made were broken in terms of a timeline almost immediately. 4 years is not a long time to say, hey, we're not going to do this. Well, let's do it anyways. I don't hear me that I support the aggression. Don't hear that, right? Again, I just don't want people killing each other. Like there's no reason this can't all stop. Like, we lived in a civilized enough communities that it should really be easy enough to go, hey, we're going to stop trying to get our missiles closer to you. Don't get them close to us, and let's call it good. The two, I don't even know. I don't know how big the economy of Russia is. I don't know where America stands at this point anymore. But I imagine they're in the top 5 in the world, easily. Probably top 3. India and China are probably in that mix, right? What I see is American imperialism. You know what imperialism is?
No.
Have you learned about Great Britain's expansion across the world yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea that the colonies of Great Britain were part of Great Britain. America, have you learned about Manifest Destiny?
Yeah, I know about it.
Okay. It's almost like we didn't stop. We made it across to the western side of the continent we were on, and then we went, okay, where else can we push this idea of freedom to? And we're in these. This is what I've gotten to watch. We're in these wars that we start ourselves by changing rulers. Who are we to tell a country how to rule itself? And America has been doing that. This has been my lifetime. This is what I've watched. America telling other countries how to rule themselves. Why is that our business? Why is that what we're doing? Yes, I think we have a beautifully wonderful way of government and a freedom that we get to enjoy in this country. We wouldn't be able to do this if we lived in a lot of other countries, right? We have this overreaching, technologically achieving continent that we've pushed further and further what the human mind is capable of building and achieving because of the freedoms we enjoy to chase a passion. And we're deciding that everybody else needs to be like us, and we're telling them they have to be like us. Why? Russia's got a huge economy. They've got people. Why are we saying that, he's a dictator, so what? He shouldn't be doing what he's doing? Are Russian people dying left and right because of him? I don't know. I don't live in Russia. You know what happens at the end of a dictatorship?
What?
The people overthrow it. We don't live there. Why are we trying to overthrow it? That's what I see. Why not let the people achieve that kind of thing for themselves? Why not turn ourselves inwardly, focus on us, just like I tell you about you as a person, right? Turn inward, heal the entirety of you so that you can achieve your own greatness. And through achieving your greatness, be a beacon and a light for others to see what that can look like. Don't go tell them they have to do this. And this comes out of an idea from my times in AA. One of the principles is attraction over promotion. I shouldn't be telling anybody to go to AA. You need to go to AA. You need to go to AA. You need to go to AA. But when somebody asks me, how are you so happy? How do you have such an abundant and joyful life? I'm going to tell them that I started going to AA. That was what got me here. And if it becomes a curiosity to them to learn more, that's up to them. If we put that on a country scale, and whether you believe the moon landing or not, right? Either way, if we went to the moon or didn't go to the moon, that's a technological achievement unheard of, right? To either fake it or to actually do it took an insane amount of technological achievement.
Yeah.
So either way, we achieved some level of greatness to show the world. That's what we're capable of when we put our minds to achieving. But when we're distracted by telling others how to live their lives, we no longer achieve ourselves. And to me, that's what I see in this whole conflict is, in my lifetime, really since 9/11, which is when I recognized it, I would say that that's what I now see, is that we have this imperialism trying to tell the world that democracy is the only way. But we're not showing them that democracy is the best way. We're not showing them that the freedoms that we get to have is the best way. Because the world has watched us be in countless war after war after war after war to not really, at the end of it, affect anything besides creating resentment and hatred for us. To me, people want to call Putin the aggressor in the war in Ukraine. Yeah, he's the one that crossed the border, sure. But there's been aggression that wasn't an act of war like that at the same time. And until there is a self-evaluative stance to recognize that we were doing things that ultimately caused this, when we can have accountability to ourselves, then we can get beyond what's happening. Because until you have accountability for past actions, you don't grow. You don't lead a new way. You do the same things. Because if you don't think you need to be accountable for something, why would you change anything? That make sense? I'm going all over the place with you today. I've got a lot of other things on my mind. It's not even that. I told you when we were walking to the house, I started a book yesterday, and that book is really, the idea behind it is really heavy on my mind, and am really passionate and fired up about it. So I'm trying to stay on topic at the same time as like I have a really new thought process to a lot of things that I'm excited about. Question 3.
I what do you think? Kind of off topic, but what is with all of this going on and how everybody's thinking Putin's the aggressor, but in reality, I know they're all going by the textbook definition, but that can be different for each one person. So, what do you think of that, of the term?
The term aggressor being subjective?
Yeah.
And everything on this planet is subjective. Have you ever seen the picture of a 6 drawn in the sand, and one guy points at it and says 6, and the other guy standing on the other side says 9? Two truths can be true. Objectively, somebody draws a line underneath it, it's now either a 6 or a 9, right? But even then, who says that line was drawn on top or bottom?
Yeah.
It doesn't solve the problem. Now there's just more to argue about. What was it? How do I define? I hope people see that differently.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing as what I spoke to with the Middle East, right? If you saw your family getting blown up, you're going to have a viewpoint that you need to defend their honor. It's a human nature. We've been doing that for who knows how many generations. If I were to lose you to something like that, I'm going to go try and find the army and get to be part of it, you know? Like if there's something happens to you on the middle of the street, some dude walks by and slaps you in the face, you think I'm just going to let that happen? I'm going to have some pretty strong instincts kicked in to protect my child. It's a very... Everything is looked at with lenses that we've developed over our lifetime. Where those lenses come from are they're developed through your acceptance or avoidance of traumas and external pressures. So if you've got a trauma that you've not addressed, that trauma can impact decisions you make without you ever recognizing that it's impacting those decisions. And that's what I'm going through right now, is recognizing that the traumas I went through in my lifetime made decisions for me because I never went, okay, that is just part of my life. So if you've got those lenses that you look at the world through trauma, you don't see objectively what's happening. You live in the subjectivity of that trauma. That make sense?
Yeah. So personally, my definition is like whoever makes the first aggressive action. So like, here's an example: Russia had warned people to NATO to not move, that they did not want weapons on their border. We continued to, and he was like, I'm pretty sure Putin was like, if Ukraine joins NATO, I will take it over before the process can be completed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his statements were, but it also goes, you got to keep going back in time, because prior to that, Ukraine was part of the United Soviet States of Russia, USSR. Ukraine was part of their country. So were a bunch of other ones. Lithuania, I don't know the list of them all, right? But that whole Eastern Europe bloc used to be part of the USSR. until its collapse in whatever year that was. And Putin has long said that one of the things he would like to do while he's in charge of the country is rebuild the USSR. Well, how do you do that if NATO's trying to take them all over? Right? So then, if you hear that as a Ukrainian leader or people, do you then go, whoa, he's planning on taking us over. We need to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
So now we've moved back from Ukraine being the aggressor to now a subjective space where Putin was seen to be the aggressor.
See, it's an opinion.
Mm-hmm. It's all subjective based on how you view the world. And you don't open those views up to new ideas or different perspectives unless you sit and have that conversation. Because imagine how it would have been had, instead of the first reaction been fear and defense, if Ukraine and the people of the Eastern Bloc of Europe went to him and said, what do you mean by that? Because to us, it sounds like you're going to invade us and take us back. What if his answer was, no. I mean, let's build an economy like the United States where all of the states have a sovereignty to themselves within the nation. What if that would have been his answer?
Yeah,
then decades of tension and war could have gone away. But because nobody stopped and asked a question, they just got scared and defensive. That conversation didn't happen.
Yeah. Because in government you always, if even one person had asked that, and then if Ukraine, if the people in Ukraine had asked, if the leader of Ukraine had asked that question, we wouldn't be seeing the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Exactly. Maybe you would see a bigger, stronger world economy based on unity and strength through mutual growth.
Yeah, we're not spending. Yeah, so yeah, the United States wouldn't be throwing money and resources into Ukraine if.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Go ahead.
See, with all the support that Biden has been giving, the Democrats have been giving.
I don't know who specifically, where, when in any of the houses made votes on it, so let's not blame one side.
Right, but with all the funding that they have been given, I imagine the economy would have been, of the world would have benefited everybody if Zelensky,
mm-hmm.
if he had asked that question, because we wouldn't be in such high tensions. Tensions wouldn't be as high. We wouldn't be worried about. We would not be worried about the things. I
think we're coming to a place in humanity where we need to discover that. Here's part of my belief, right? Biologically, our evolution has peaked. Technology will surpass it. The next evolution we will experience will be an evolution of consciousness. So instead of recognizing, when I get that, I'm going to reunite the USSR, and my reaction is defensiveness. I have to get to the point where I go, why am I defensive about this? Maybe it was under the USSR, it collapsed, and because of this, and this, and communism, whatever life experience I had made me really defensive to that idea. But when I get to the point where my mind goes, well, wait a minute, you're being defensive because of the past. Let's go learn more. That it's this integral development we've had of tribalism. People came over and attacked our tribe, so we attacked their tribe, so we got stronger weapons. Just this back and forth that's constantly happened for millennia has formed this defensiveness in us. And we're at a point now where, as a civilization, we need to start going, why am I being defensive? Do I need to be defensive? Can this be a conversation rather than me feeling that I need a shield and sword? Like, if I would have ever asked that point to myself throughout life, my life would have been very different in a lot of things. And it's not necessarily defensiveness. Anger was mine, right? Why am I angry? Why am I angry about this? You know, what do you mean by that? Because this is what I hear. And I think that's the step of evolution that we need to take. And I think when as a civilization, that's a majority of the thought process, particularly in the leadership of nations, I think that moment is when we truly shift away from wars. It shouldn't be about who has what. It should be about what can I share with you? Because you're a human living on this planet.
Yeah. Anyways, do you have any questions for me now?
Let's save that part. We're going to cut in here and add I'm trying to figure this out still. We're actually going to bring my best friend in, and we're going to have a conversation with him. I'll let him speak to his credentials in this, but then we'll come back to my questions for Evan. 1, 2, 3. Well, we were going to edit in our conversation with Cody here, but it was so good, it wound up lasting quite a while longer than we had anticipated. So what we're going to do is actually post that video this coming Tuesday. So please look out for that. It'll be coming, should be 4 days from the posting of this video. Beautiful conversation, and please join us for it. It's so good, and I'm really glad we did it. Thanks.
We're not. I'm not your boss.
All right. So questions for you after. I don't know what Cody said because we're recording this before he's here, but I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful little segment.
Yeah.
How, with the way the information about the tensions in the world is portrayed to you, where does your fear level sit?
Actually, pretty high after. Actually, honestly, in all honesty, pretty high. Someday, pretty high with just how much we might have a third World War and then a second Great Depression as repercussion from that, because we threw so much money into that, because theoretically we threw so much money into that war that we were not able to.
There was something I heard once that the reset of a government is war. And America's not been, like, we've been part of things, but not one where, like, our entire, like, World War II, our whole economy shifted into gear to produce for the war. And in order to do that, government bureaucracy, regulations were thrown out the window. Like, this doesn't matter anymore. Make whatever you need to make and make it however you need to make it. So all of the regulations went out the window, and then they had to be redone after that war, right? But since World War II, we've not had something that caused us to do that. We've not thrown the book out in order to get through something. So there's this idea, I want to say it was Elon Musk, I heard speak of this. It's like, that's how you clear bureaucracy. That's been the history of clearing bureaucracy, is war. Why are we waiting for war to do that? Let's go in and clear it out now. So you say the Great Depression there, you're, with the way everything is portrayed, they're honestly, they're realistic and genuine fears. I sit in them as well, right? Like, it's terrifying to me to realize that I could see World War III in my lifetime. Like, that's so wild, especially when on any given day interaction that I have with people of different races, people of different sexual identities, gender identities, all of these different folks that I have genuine, real connections with, I still live on a planet that could possibly be on the brink of a World War III. Absolutely mind-blowing. Do kids at school talk about it at all?
No.
Do you talk about it with anybody else? I know you and I talk a little bit about it.
No.
No. Maybe I expose you to too much information. Maybe that's my fault as a father. But I'm also there for you to talk about it too.
And also, I'm your child to raise.
Yeah, but it's my job to protect you. So if you're sitting in a massive amount of fear, if it was fear that caused you to be incapable of performing a day-to-day thing, like if you were so terrified you wouldn't even come out of your room, like, yeah, I need you to not watch this stuff anymore, right? But you still function very well in a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's like when I have something to occupy my mind, it's sort of just in the back of my mind there. But like, at all other times, whenever I'm just at home relaxing or having a conversation, it's more prevalent during when I'm just at home existing.
Yeah. And that's part of the hard part, where you've got to deal with the fear. You've got to deal with whatever it might be, resentments, traumas, fears. Because once you've dealt with them, once you understand why they exist in you and they creep up, you're able to go, hey, it's okay because I know this about you. If World War III happens, what are we really going to be able to do within that?
And we won't be able to change much.
Like you and I, we're not going to change much within that. If it were to happen next week, right?
Yeah.
We'd have to make decisions based on a day-to-day moment of our right here and now. So that's the control we have in that scenario. What is our here and now in which we can affect? So when you have those fears come in, if you can say, okay, mind, thank you for trying to protect me by worrying about that, because it is a very big thing. But it also, you're helping to remind me to stay here and now where I can affect what happens in my life. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I asked that question a lot. Those are the questions I have for you. Anything else?
No. Yeah, I think we're ready to. We're not going to end the episode here. So.
Yeah, we're gonna do this like record, parse, cut. I edit. I don't. It'll be the first edited
Insert.
video. No, it'll be the first time we've done anything like that. So I've got to fiddle with what that looks like. Otherwise, I hope everybody enjoyed. Follow us, like us, share us, tell your friends, tell your mom and dad, tell your kids,
Or not. I don't care.
There you go.
It's your choice. Your friends, your family, your choice. Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody.